The Lou Information Station presents M-I-Z-Z-O-U. Now, here's your host, Grant Salzman.
And/or Vic Faust and Brendan Schaefer. Glad you guys are with us today. It's the MIZ-STL show. Lots of energy, lots of positivity. That's where I'm taking it. Brendan may go a different way. Grant Salzman, your everyday host, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, off today. So you have myself and Brendan. Brendan does the show a couple times a week as it is. All right, Brendan, happy December 1st already. We were joking before we came into the show. Your life was made a whole lot easier by Eli Drinkwitz.
Oh yeah, he makes a lot of things easier. He hooked me up with Mizzou over 7.5 wins, which was something that I have been sweating since the summertime. I thought they would come by it a little easier than that, Vic. But you know what? At the end of the day, they got it done. They beat Arkansas. That's the one that should be like the auto win at the end of your season. And so they did it, even though they only acquired 25 passing yards. Maybe we'll talk about that.
Oh my gosh, we will. We'll get into that. The other thing is,
what? They got the win, and Drink's still the coach today on this Monday, so I'm feeling good.
Bingo. That was the second part of the reason I thought that he might have made your life a little easier.
Yeah.
You're not racing around like the Baton Rouge and Louisiana reporters and Ole Miss reporters have been racing around for the last few days. Drake is staying. You know what? I guess let's start with the victory. First of all, 8-4, 4-4 in the conference. Did you doubt at all Missouri going into this game? Because I didn't. I told anybody and everybody, take Missouri, give up the points. There is no way in hell Arkansas can stop Missouri's run game. I just wanted to see more pass yards.
Yeah, I wanted to see more pass yards too. I did doubt. I was terrified. Probably because I had money on it.
Because you had money on it.
Because it was from the beginning of the summer, I was thinking this will be something they wrap up by maybe the beginning of November, and it comes down to the last game. I think objectively, yes, we knew that the running game would be strong. I did not imagine that Arkansas, Vic, is one of the worst pass defenses in college football this year, and we put up 25 passing yards. So watching the game unfold, I still wasn't really comfortable until Kevin Coleman took the punt back for a touchdown. I was like, all right, there's nothing bad that can happen from here. Because if you got into a situation where that Arkansas offense got cooking, and even if they were up by a field goal at some point, how are we going to come from behind in a fourth quarter situation with no pass offense? It was a scary proposition, but the play by Coleman and then the Ahmad Hardy touchdown run where he was tackled by 6 dudes and they couldn't bring him down. That's kind of what this Mizzou season was with some of the key contributors like an Ahmad Hardy. Yeah, I was scared, though. I'll admit it. I just didn't know what it would look like. But credit to the defense, because that Arkansas offense can score on a lot of teams, and Mizzou's defense looked pretty good in that game.
That's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Vic Faust. This is the MIZ-STL show. There was no doubt in my mind Missouri was going to win that game because of not their offense, not even their run game, but because of their defense. I thought their run game would be good, clearly, even if Arkansas tried to stack the line as other teams did. But with that defense, and I'm going to say it right now, and I think we need to celebrate it, and I'm not trying to be negative. I just don't see any way. I don't know if Missouri has enough money and there are enough players to put together / buy a defense that was as good as this one. I've been associated with Missouri football since 1990, Brendan. The year that I was recruited and then became a player, a broadcaster, an alum, and everything else. I have never seen a defense this solid, this deep. And Eli even told us before the season began how many athletes were on that team. And to see them come to fruition, I just wanted to make sure people don't ever forget. In my humble opinion, this was the best defense Missouri has ever had.
Yeah, it was really good, man. And I know that there were games like the Kansas game was they get some chunk plays. There were some things early where the secondary was a little bit of a soft spot and you were giving up a lot over the middle. We would give up the big play. I think Corey Batoon did a hell of a job. I mean, the one area that you could have faulted them for, by the second half of the season, they completely addressed it, and they were really, really rock solid. They didn't always have just like an every down pass rush, but they had elite rushers that got to the quarterback in the moments where they needed to. All 3 levels of the defense ended up being really, really competitive this year, and I think there's pros all over that defense. Some of them probably going to leave us sooner than we wish they would. They're so darn good. But yeah, this defense was unbelievable. And Vic, that's the shame of it all, because I think if you had even league average quarterback play, you might be talking about being able to access more of a ceiling for what this season could have been. 8-4 was pretty good, but I think that ends up holding you back, and it feels like you kind of squander what was really an elite defensive performance by the team this year.
You know what? 8-4. Legitimately, if you beat one of those teams that you lost to, and you're 9-3 today instead of 8-4, do you feel that much better? Do you? Because I thought about this. I'm like, if we could have just gotten one of those two games, I was thinking about this Saturday right before we did our post-game show. And I'm like, one of them, that would make me feel better, but you're still not going to the playoff. And you still had another game or two that you could have won. What about you when it comes to that whole situation? 8-4, 9-3.
Yeah. Having been in Nashville, that one would have been the one I would have wanted.
100%.
I was at the Bama game as well. But like, and Bo had obviously the interception that ended the Bama game, but he played okay. Like we moved the ball in that game. It's not like we were completely inept offensively.
We did have a forward pass going. You're right.
Yeah. So that was one where it's like, can I really say, oh my gosh, if we had any semblance of competitiveness at quarterback, we could have won? Nah, I mean, that was just a playoff team. They're going to the SEC championship game for a reason. The Vandy game, though, that eats at me. I would feel better about 9-3, beat Vanderbilt, because I think that was the one team on your schedule that genuinely was not better than you. And you weren't able to get that one. Oklahoma, you could even say, like, they might get popped in the college football playoff because they're a defense only without a real good offense situation that's been brewing as well in Norman. And that's another game, Vic, where I know you could say woulda, coulda, shoulda about three of these four losses, but we really, if there is some semblance of quarterback play in Norman, I wonder if that game goes a little bit differently too. But yeah, I mean, 9-3, I would have felt better, but it still is in that same category as 8-4, where you didn't make the playoffs. So I understand your point there.
Yeah. So now we sit back, we wait for a bowl. I'm not somebody, my friend, I don't get excited about bowl games over the last 3 years anymore because of what's happened. I'm trying. I don't. Do I want to win? If they win, will I promote the fact that they've had 30 wins in the last 3 years? You better damn well believe I will. But I'm like, if you have to play it, it's almost like, okay, you have to win, but it's worse if you lose. And I don't know how many of these guys, Grant disagrees with me a little bit. He thinks most of these guys are going to play. I'm not so sure because I feel so good about the talent and where some of these, quote, seniors and or juniors who could come out, how good they can be. You may disagree, but I am very, very worried about how many guys Missouri's losing this year and how they're going to be able to put it back in, most on the defense. And I want you to talk about the defense as we look at a team that could be coming back, because now we have Eli signing from a contract, and it's kind of a loaded question. Eli's coming back. Your CEO is still there. He's proven he's been pretty good at this, but now you've got a lot of positions to replace. Talk about the defense, but I will tell you, I still think Caden Green is gone, and I don't know if he plays in that bowl game.
Yeah, when you talk about the bowl game specifically and the notion of opt-outs, like it is a concern if you're somebody that, and the problem with it is too, what if they play against kind of a rival like a Nebraska or somehow like an Illinois? If they play a team that Mizzou fans want to beat, and then we go in with half of our team, then you're kind of like, oh man, this is going to be, because it'll go the same way that the Ohio State fans never let us have the Cotton Bowl because, well, we didn't have our quarterback, as if that would have made a difference. And so like there is that aspect of it. You're right. I think it's worse to lose a bowl game than it is good to win it, is a lot of times the way that we feel about them. I have no idea. You could definitely in this era of college football have a bunch of opt-outs, but I would say like having the coach back is a great step in that direction. The seniors or the guys that are going to the draft for sure, this isn't going to be the caliber of bowl that you probably end up playing in. So I do expect a lot.
That's what I'm worried about. Exactly.
Those guys. And look, the other part of this is transfer portal too. Like, I don't know who the quarterback is going to be next year. Are they going to say, Bo Perbula, we're going to invest in you and try to build you up over the summer? Maybe if Zollers and Bo are both here, that's the competition for starting quarterback, and let them have a big spring, big summer and see who can win the job. Would they do it that way? But if they don't, you're talking about basically telling the quarterback, hey, we're going to go look in the portal for somebody. So the ones you have on the roster could leave, which could then mean what happens in the bowl game. I have truly no idea.
But they're not. But that's not happening until after January. What is it? Isn't it January 2nd or
that's when the portal opens, but there will be guys announcing in the month of December that they are entering the portal and they are not going to risk catastrophic injury.
Yeah. Well, we did.
Well,
did you see what happened today right before the show? I don't even know if you saw this. Ironically, a guy who you knew and covered close up and personal, Kewan Lacey, has now declared for the portal after being at Mizzou last year and having an outstanding year with Ole Miss. He is now re-entering the portal.
And so I saw that was expected. Is he going to skip the playoff, though?
I don't know.
Just the report that is out there.
It did not say.
I've seen maybe some. I'm not 100% sure that is official. I'm assuming he'll play in the playoff, but like, would it be a surprise if he follows Lane Kiffin to LSU? Probably
absolutely not. And so just
like,
last week, Lane Kiffin, even though I don't agree, and I know every coach has to have his players back, and you know this from the amount of experience and listening to coaches talk about their players, legitimately looked people in their eyes and said, Kewan Lacey is the best running back in America.
Well, he was the best running back on Mizzou's team last year.
we
didn't use him like it. But I don't. You know what? The way that went down is fine with me, Vic, because I believe the best running back in the country is actually still in Columbia, Missouri. It's Ahmad Hardy. It's the guy that we
hope is back next year.
That's the thing too, that I think the best part of Drink staying is I think you get the hope that, hey, there will be teams try to throw a bag at Ahmad Hardy, guys like him, guys like Olubade. I feel like, and I already saw that Hardy said after the game about Drink's extension, he said, well, that's good news for me. So I'm, which is like, that's what you want to hear, because he's a key cog, obviously, into what they're going to be doing next year.
That's a humble response, too, for a kid that was the best running back in America.
I love this kid. Like, in this era, anything can happen that he could, guys are going to come after him and try to give him a bag of money. But like the idea that he's thinking in those terms, and then if it comes to fruition that he stays for another year, he's going to go down as one of the most storied running backs in Mizzou history, just for being here for the 2 years that he would be here. I mean, that's how darn good this guy's been, has a chance to break the rushing record. But to your point about losing guys in the portal or potentially opting out of the bowl game, I agree with you on the defensive side of things, but I guess you could make the case, though, Vic, that we kind of wondered about that last year and said, oh my gosh, we're losing some of these big key players and they're going to the NFL draft and things like that. And I think Drink reloading through the portal, he figured it out. He's not going to spend, to last second flip a 5-star in high school who's going to not necessarily play as a true freshman and then end up at Nebraska or end up at Ole Miss or end up at Arkansas, like the 3 that did from the previous high school class.
Yeah.
I think he's going to look in the portal and say, here's our needs to fill. And he's going to tell those big time portal prospects, hey, look at how many guys are going to go into the NFL draft for us this year. Look how many did it last year. He's pumping out professionals. And I think that's going to allow him to reload that defense. But you're right. There's going to be, you said juniors and seniors. There's a sophomore that could be going to the NFL draft in Trotter. He's a redshirt sophomore, so he would be eligible.
Oh, that's right. He's a third year.
So,
he's not ready from a pass coverage standpoint.
Hey, I would love nothing more than to see him come back another year.
He needs to get a little better in his pass drops. That's just my humble opinion.
As a middle linebacker, I don't know that if he's going to be a top 3 round grade. As a middle linebacker, are you coming back and risking injury and the potential? Like, how highly is a linebacker going to be drafted at his spot? I don't know, but it does serve to your point. I would worry about what that looks like. But
dude, you just put that into the stratosphere, and I never ever. There's no way he's going. No way. I'm putting that into the stratosphere.
I say that I hope you're right because I want to see him back, but I also want to see Mizzou guys excel and be great. I would love, selfishly, one more year of Trotter because he's a heck of a player.
Oh, Missouri. I'm just telling you. Here's my only issue. I agree with everything you said. Just one slight caveat is the fact that now Eli has an even bigger task this offseason than he has had in the previous. Yes, he's been able to fill and replace. But this year, there are more holes that he's going to have to replace to even get somewhat comparable on the defensive side to what he had last year. Starting with that D-line, he's going to lose a linebacker. I'm counting on Trotter being back. And then he's losing some secondary. So I'm like, okay. And the one thing that Missouri had this year was a whole lot of depth. And they were able to use that depth on the D-line and especially in the secondary. It's one thing to even have the money. It's another thing to be able to go get quality guys that actually fit the program and pan out as well. That's my only concern, not being negative. I'm just saying it's something to look at.
Positivity guy today. You told me.
I was positive about the game. Okay. Now I'm like moving forward, like, okay, where are we headed with the team? Because here's the only thing that gets me concerned about when you start to think about it. And yes, this is my positivity, Brendan. Sorry. It's the fact that I look and I listen at what other SEC programs and coaches are doing and saying and their financial commitment. And Missouri is going to have to step up, quote, keep up with the Joneses if they even want those 8 wins and 4-4 in the SEC, especially with a schedule that's going to get more difficult the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, the 9-game SEC schedule, that was a big reason that I feared Eli Drinkwitz seeing the writing on the wall of just how much more difficult this is going to be to do what he wants to do at Missouri. And I think it's why he used the leverage that he had. A lot of people would say, man, did he interview here, there, everywhere? Like, what really happened? I think at the end of the day, the way that played out allowed for Eli Drinkwitz to get the most that he possibly could from Missouri in terms of commitments financially to rebuild this roster through NIL. And so he did that for ultimately Mizzou fans. Like the fact that kind of strung out the way that it did, and we weren't really sure about the future, and then he ends up re-upping. I believe that there's going to be a significant increase into the salary, essentially, that he can pay to reload this roster through the portal. And as every other big-time program right now is kind of going, well, we got a new coach, we got to try to keep our guys, it's going to be open season. And I think Eli Drinkwitz in Missouri will be well-positioned to pick up and benefit from that. And he'll hopefully have the resources financially to be able to compel guys to come in and reload that defense on the fly. But you're right. Like, I think coming into this season, the win total expectation was 7.5. And if you're a sports betting fellow like me, that was plus money. So it was, the underdog technically outcome for Missouri to win 8 games the way that they did, according to what the folks at Sportsbooks would say. I don't think it's going to be all too dissimilar next year when you consider that the schedule is much more difficult. And that is assuming that Eli Drinkwitz reloads through the portal. So there's nothing easy about what is to come, but I do believe that Drink believes there's momentum, right? Because he chose to re-up, didn't explore, didn't wait it out till the last possible second of what the coaching carousel might have provided to him. And we're going in and saying, yeah, it's going to be a tough job, but that's kind of what the STP mentality has been all about. And so I appreciate that it looks like we're going to be able to kind of still live in that for a little while longer as they try to prove that, yeah, people don't think we're the blue bloods of the SEC, and we're not yet, but we're on the way. And he's looking to make that leap from good to great. He's talked about how difficult that's going to be.
We talk about the portal from the defensive standpoint. Wrap up the portal from the offensive standpoint. I'm telling you, I think Caden Green is gone. You lose 2 other offensive linemen. That is a very big concern to me because it was already a position that didn't have depth this year. And in my humble opinion, it was average at best. And then you lose your best offensive lineman and some seniors and some stability at center. Those are also massive positions that would have to be filled via portal. I don't know if they have those guys on the team. I don't think they do. And then you're talking about a quarterback situation. The quarterback's best situation is his offensive line, a tight end, and a good run game. Well, he's got a tight end and a run game, whoever that quarterback is going to be. So that's of concern to me. And then the second part is what you brought up earlier. I don't think Bo Pribula gets better at this point in his career at throwing the ball down the field. I don't. I'll put it out there for you. In my experience with quarterbacks, playing with them and then covering them, you don't make those kinds of strides year to year at this point in your career. Maybe a new coordinator would be able to do something if there was that, which leads us to another question. My feeling is the guy who could make the strides is Zollers or somebody else being brought in. So the offensive line, in your opinion, and then this whole quarterback situation via portal.
And I think it goes into kind of all into one bucket where you talk about financially, what can they afford to do? That's college football now. Like, that is the reality of how the recruiting and the portal and all these things work. I think this year you could make the case that, like, they threw money at quarterback and it didn't quite go the way that they had hoped. They threw money. I'm sure they're paying him out Hardy handsomely and it deserves every penny. But you also go, like, me and Jamal Roberts was a really good player. Like, we didn't know maybe what he would turn into. If you had devoted more resources to offensive line to really shore that up, does it does it accelerate you more than like throwing the money at the quarterback spot that didn't end up panning out? You can't go in without a quarterback that you're really feeling good about. And this time it just didn't work out the way that they had hoped with Bo's ability to throw down the field, as you mentioned. But now you're losing what was still a pretty solid offensive line. If Caden Green's going to the pros, Trost was, he was rock.
He was solid.
He was what they needed, man. He comes in and fills that role. I mean, your previous right tackle is top 10 pick and is one of the best tackles in the NFL right now.
He's gonna be in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah. So like the fact that you lost him and still found a way to kind of cobble it together, I almost think, and I don't love the idea of this, but if you had unlimited resources, you could fix the offensive line and take your pick of the litter at quarterback, right? That would be what you could do if you just.
But they don't have unlimited.
No.
Not in the SEC anymore. Not with the guys that they're going against.
I think it's in a good place financially, but it's not unlimited resources. That isn't the case. So what do? Do you say, okay, Pribula's getting paid a lot. Is there a world in which you tell him, hey, Zollers is going to be the starter, so if you'd like to go elsewhere, we're not going to, hold that against you. But if you're Bo and you've got a contract, you're like, I don't know, this money is not the money I'm getting.
And who's the coordinator, Brendan?
And who's the coordinator? And if they want to change coordinators, the buyout for Kirby Moore is like $1.5 million. So what do you?
Are you kidding me?
It all comes out. I believe he would just be guaranteed his salary that remains, if I'm not mistaken. So now could he take a G5 head coaching job through some miracle? I don't think it's likely, but that, because I would like to see a change at coordinator personally. That
makes two of us and nothing personal, but in this day and age,
they didn't have the personnel to probably operate the way that ideally Kirby and Drink would have wanted to. But at the same time, man, 25 passing yards, like you got to find the creativity to be able to do a little bit more than that. So,
outside of your first drive when you can script plays.
Which has been great all year. And then after that, it was, they just didn't have, it was like, Hardy, I hope you can break 8 tackles. And usually he did.
And so carry 2 or 3 guys each time you get the ball.
Yeah. So what do, Vic? Do you load up offensive line, or do you chase a portal quarterback knowing that you might have to eat some money on the quarterback that you paid on what they've reported as a multi-year contract? I don't know, but I like the idea of really loading up on the offensive line. And if you come in with a quarterback competition of Zollers and Bo, you could do a lot worse than that, I think. But at the same time, had you gotten a Fernando Mendoza this year, we're probably talking about the college football playoff.
I know.
That is the position that can make the difference. But you can't get your Fernando Mendoza and then not reload the line, because then you're going to get him killed.
Exactly.
It's a rock and a hard place when there isn't unlimited resources. So we'll see.
I don't want to be too disrespectful here, but because I know how difficult the SEC is, but look at Mendoza's schedule and the defenses he played compared to the defenses Missouri played. And I'm telling you, it makes a difference.
Can we wait a week, though? Because he's about to play Ohio State on Saturday.
I know.
And then we'll know.
Exactly. It's a great. Has there ever been a 1 versus 2 matchup that seems this like blah?
Probably not, but I'm actually really excited about it.
I am too. I like Indiana.
The fact that we have these mega conferences that not every big time team plays each other in the regular season now, which is a problem of itself, and it's going to continue to be a problem until I don't know. I don't have the answer on the until, but we do get to see Ohio State, Indiana for the first time. It doesn't mean anything because they're both going to the playoff, but I am excited for that game. Really, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I want to see how real Indiana is, and that's going to be a great test for them.
Hey, can we take a quick break, and then when we come back, I want to talk real quick about that portal situation, only from an Eli Drinkwitz standpoint, and some comments that he made regarding Missouri State politicians reaching out to him, asking what can be done. I don't know if you saw those comments. It makes me feel good as Vic the fan. I'm wondering if they can actually deliver in regards to the politicians who are calling, offering, and asking what can be done to help Missouri in this NIL age, plus the Lane Kiffin drama, where this playoff situation could go, and then lightly touch upon Mizzou basketball, because I guess we're in a week now where we're going to find out maybe more about who Mizzou hoops are.
Yeah, that 364th out of 365 strength of schedule is going to eventually have to change.
Yeah, it's kind of sickening. That's Brendan Schaefer. I'm Vic Faust. This is the MIZ-STL show. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back with more right after this.
World 2.0.
This whole situation is getting out of control.
This is Mizzou wide receiver Kevin Coleman Jr.
And I'm Mizzou linebacker Josiah Trotter.
When we hit the field, we have each other's back.
And off the field, we got James Carlton, State Farm covering us.
Thanks, fellas. Nothing beats college football season, and nothing beats saving money. Just by getting a quote from our office and mentioning Mizzou, we'll make a donation to support Mizzou's will to win push on your behalf. No strings attached.
So you're supporting the team just by checking your rates. Doesn't get any easier than that.
It's so easy. Check them out online at cartoninsurance.net. MIZZOU.
When you buy a hot tub, you want more than bubbles. You want value that lasts. At St. Louis Hot Tub Warehouse, their low overhead means premium American-made products priced better than the competition, and the best price guarantee in town will beat any local dealer on a comparable model. With over 38 years in business and 400-plus five-star reviews, you can trust they'll be there to service your spa long after the sale. St. Louis Hot Tub Warehouse, highest quality, best price. Visit besthоttubprices.com today.
LouInfo.com news headlines brought to you by Brown and Crouppen. GetBC.com.
With your LouInfo.com news, I'm Jared Cerello. A man has died after he was shot by police at a Maryland Heights Walgreens. Authorities said the man walked into the store on Dorset Road with a gun Sunday night, then shot at the responding officers who returned fire and fatally struck the man. Nobody else was injured. An investigation is underway. The winter storm Saturday was going down into the history books. The National Weather Service recorded almost 6.5 inches of snow at Lambert International Airport. That is the fifth highest total ever for a November day in St. Louis. The heavy snowfall led to serious traffic jams and stranded drivers on highways and major roads. Several people are in need of new vehicles after they were struck by a snowplow. The plow hit 4 parked vehicles on the 7,000 block of Jamison Avenue Saturday morning. The snowplow driver told officers he was swerving to avoid colliding with a speeding vehicle. For the Lou Information Station, I'm Jared Cerello.
Now, LouInfo.com weather. Presented by STL Sports Central. St. Louis sports. Anytime, anywhere.
Here's your LouInfo.com weather update. We're hitting about 30 on the high today, and some snow showers will be possible. We have another low pressure system from the Central Plains moving into our area. Overnight, we're expecting 1 to 2 inches of snowfall, down to 20 on the overnight low, and then the snow will be over with on Tuesday. Mix of sunshine and clouds, and we're going up to 30. Wednesday looks good. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton for the Lou Information Station, streaming 24/7 at LouInfo.com and the free Lou Info app.
Is your brand stuck on the sidelines? Tired of feeling like your marketing budget is just warming the bench? Well, then it's time to get in the game with Eyesight Media. We don't just put your brand near the action, we put you in the action. Imagine this, your company front and center, showcased in NCAA and pro stadiums and arenas nationwide. If you're ready to elevate your brand to MVP status, don't miss this shot. Visit EyesightMediaGroup.com today to apply for an in-arena partnership. That's EyesightMediaGroup.com.
Is diabetes keeping you from enjoying life's special moments? At US Med, we understand the challenges you face, and we're here to help.
With US Med, I can finally manage my diabetes without it managing me.
US Med offers a wide range of services to simplify your diabetes care. Personalized care plans, convenient access to cutting-edge diabetes tech, and knowledgeable support. Plus, we'll check your insurance so your diabetes care may be covered at little or no cost to you.
With US Med, I feel confident and control of my diabetes. I can finally live my life to the fullest.
Don't let diabetes hold you back. Choose US Med and experience better birthdays, better adventures, better anniversaries, and better everything. Call now. US Med. Better service, better care. 800-891-6335. 800-891-6335. 800-891-6335. That's 800-891-6335.
Lunchtime just got a whole lot better at Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill. From mouth-watering wraps to loaded quesadillas to bold, flavor-packed sandwiches, Hot Shots has something fresh every single day, along with your favorite wings, burgers, and pizza that you know and love. And don't sleep on those Hot Shots tacos. Plus, if you gotta be in and out quick for lunch, Hot Shots has you covered every day starting at 11 a.m. Find your nearest Hot Shots Sports Bar and Grill now at hotshotsnet.com. That's hotshotsnet.com.
Back to more of MIZZOU.
Hey guys, happy December 1st. Hello, St. Louis area. This is the MIZSTL show. Grant Salzman normally hosting. Out today, myself, Vic Faust, normally with him on Mondays, joined by Brendan Schaefer, the man who is on the show 2 times a week. It's the MIZSTL show, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 10 to 11 o'clock, all things Mizzou, and we absolutely love doing this show. Okay, we were talking a lot about the portal, Mizzou's victory over Arkansas, their 8-4 season, their bowl game that's coming up, filling the spots and how you're going to do it. Well, you got to have money to do that. And if you look around the country, you hear other programs, specifically in the SEC, talking about how they're going to get this money together. Allegedly, a big, quote, big reason why Lane Kiffin was leaving Ole Miss was allegedly regarding, in the excess of $25 million payroll for his own players to go out and buy those players. Missouri, if they want to compete in this conference with 9 games, as Brendan brought up, they got to get the players. You got to get the players. A lot of times it takes money. How are you going to get the money? Earlier this week, Eli Drinkwitz was talking about this. I don't know if you saw the comments or heard about them, Brendan, but he said that, politicians like Jason Smith, Eric Schmidt, Governor Mike Kehoe have reached out to him personally and asked, what do we need to do from our standpoint, the positions that we have to help Missouri generate NIL money? When I hear Coach talk about that, once again, it puts it back in the limelight. And it also shows me that we do have some politicians allegedly trying to help. How can it generate money? I don't know. How can they put pressure maybe on some of those Fortune 500 companies that Eli was talking about? Maybe you know something that I don't, but I do like the sound of it. I don't know if it's lip service, but I do like the sound. And Eli is intelligent, and he put that out there for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, asking the right questions at the very least, right? Like, I don't know what can be done necessarily, but I don't think it hurts to have, everybody on board locally and lawmakers. They obviously, with the NIL stuff that happened a couple of years ago, we're one of the first states to say, oh, you know what, with this NIL stuff happening, let's pass legislation that maybe the NCAA can try to block and prevent later. But for now, we're going to be able to pay Missouri high school players, if they're going to commit to come here, we can pay them ahead of time. And like that allowed for them to, I think, get a little bit of recruiting momentum. And so we've seen that before, where there has been examples of, even lawmakers being able to assist in the goals of the Mizzou football program. And that's what you want. He talked a lot about, in kind of the lead up to whether or not this extension was going to happen, the cohesiveness of kind of having everybody on board. And I think, it's good to hear that even politicians can be included in that. But yeah, the money people, the Fortune 500s, the corporations in the state, that's what I think Drink has as his kind of white whale, because with the way they're doing NIL now, yeah, you can do the revenue sharing up to 21 million or whatever it is. To be able to pay a roster more than that, you've got to be able to theoretically have your NIL deals pass through the clearinghouse, the NIL Go clearinghouse, which has been a complete mess. But the thought is they're not going to look at these Fortune 500s and say, are you really doing a true NIL deal with this player, or are you just paying him? They're not going to look sideways at those. And so that's what it's kind of still the same corruption that there's always been, but those levels of companies are going to get the benefit of the doubt, and nobody's going to look sideways at those NIL deals. And so that's the reason that Drink says, look, to be able to do it the way that these other programs are going to do it, that's kind of what we need. And I guess time will tell as to whether or not he's able to compel those individuals, those corporations, to get on board in the way that he wants them to.
Well, I'm hoping that some of those politicians can lean a little bit on some of those companies, because they know each other. And many times they're putting contributions into those political campaigns. And a lot of times those Fortune 500 companies are giving it to Republicans and Democrats alike. So there's money. And now you're starting to see, and it's a catch-22. If you have success, it's like, yeah, we're all into this. If you don't have success, it becomes that anchor that pulls you under and you're like, we're cutting ship or we're cutting bait and getting out.
What are we putting our money in for if we're not getting out of it? That's why I think this 3 to 5 year stretch is very critical to be able to keep the momentum and sort of arrive to the upper echelon of college football. Missouri's not there yet, but there's a realm in which if they get the ROI on those initial investments, you could see that just become a long-term sustained thing. And that's the hope, obviously. Look, if there's going to be kind of political dealings and I'm not going to say corruption, but if there's going to be some handshake agreements, I at least want my football team to benefit from them. So I have zero problem with that.
And this, and that leads into this. I'm pretty difficult. I don't want to say difficult. I'm pretty tough on the players and I'm tough on the coaches in this new era, much more than I used to be. Being a former player, I used to be very pro player in these situations. Now I'm not, because you know what? What they've all agreed to are basically independent contractors. Players are independent contractors. Coaches are independent contractors. And we have seen this with Lane Kiffin. I despise what's happened to college football, but in the middle of this, it is what it is, and it's not changing anytime soon. I do not fault Lane Kiffin for doing what he has done because the NCAA has done this, and I do not fault the players for putting coaches and their teammates between a rock and a hard place because it's called put your big boy pants on. You guys all wanted the money, but guess what? There's always other things that come along. I know it may be an unpopular opinion, but I have no problem with what Lane Kiffin did in this SEC, and I have no problem with how he did it, and I have no problem with how he took coaches with him. I have actually heard some people how he's holding them hostage, and that's so bad for the players. Okay, great. Did you not see all of these possibilities coming when this all started? Do you think LSU cares about the players on Ole Miss having their full staff ready to go for a playoff run when they won 7 games? Hell no. Brendan, what say you on this topic?
Yeah, what's interesting about it is I don't think it was LSU that prevented him from coaching.
No, they didn't. It was Ole Miss. It was Ole Miss.
I tried to wonder, if I were an Ole Miss fan, how would I feel about it? Because some people have said, I put out there and said, I do think Lane was a clown throughout this process. Just too much of the social media stuff.
Yes, he was.
He could have avoided some of the backlash if he had just shut his mouth.
But that's him.
That's him. And so I'm not going to sit here and say I'm surprised by any of it. But if I were if this had happened at Mizzou and we're finally to a playoff for the first time and there's an opportunity to access the national championship, how would I want that to go down knowing that the coach is going to leave? Because the problem is still the academic calendar and the portal calendar lining up the way that it does. You can't, if Lane Kiffin wants to take another job, it did have to be during this cycle.
Correct.
So from that standpoint, I can't really fault him. You can be disappointed if you're Ole Miss, but what would I do when it regards my playoff chances? If LSU is willing to let him stay, would I be willing to allow that, or is that just every single day that he's here is a signal that we were not considered good enough by him?
If it would have been Drinkwitz, what would you say? Because I'll tell you what I could say if Drinkwitz was in this situation going to Penn State.
So if it were Drinkwitz and Mizzou was in the playoff, they're 1-1, they're going to make the playoff, I would. Initially, I said, "Oh man, let him coach because it's your one chance to make a national championship. It's bigger than any."
Come on.
That's how but I would also be. I would be peeved. I would be peeved for sure. I would be upset that my coach is leaving in the middle of this once in a lifetime opportunity to be able to access a championship. And so from the fan standpoint, I could understand where hit the bricks, we'll win without you. From the player standpoint, I would think they'd want him to stay because they're this is having this cohesiveness. We want to win a championship for ourselves. The seniors, I would certainly think would feel that way. I wonder about the underclassmen who were expecting 2-3 more years with Lane Kiffin.
They know better than that though now.
They do, but there's reports coming out that said there were some players that were really upset. I don't know what you can fully believe.
Well, I mean, you got 100 guys on a team. You're going to have a bag of mixed reactions.
Absolutely. And so that's where, man, it's hard to paint with a broad brush.
I would want, if Eli took the job to go to Penn State, I would say I want the staff in place that got us to the playoffs to give us the best chance to go win. And you know what? You just deal with it after. Let's get the next best guy, but let's not screw up this year, because does anybody think Ole Miss is going to be in a better situation with whomever else is coaching now?
It would be a storybook ending if they were, but as much as I want to believe it, Vic,
No.
can't. I cannot believe
No.
it. And the defensive coordinator was telling Lane to get the hell out. This isn't your office. Like, there's some reports about he was apparently watching the Iron Bowl, and the defensive coordinator who's now taking over as the head coach, and I believe they're making that permanent, not even.
Yeah, he's the head coach now. The defensive coordinator has become the head coach.
The fact that he said, and again, is that report true? It's all behind closed door stuff, but it seems like it came from a reputable outlet that said he told him, get the hell out of here. This isn't your office. Go watch it at home. I mean, and I think that's probably why they made him permanent too. It's a bit of a risk, because if you can kind of say, this is your guy, you don't need to leave Lane in the portal after all this is done. We're going to succeed. This is your guy. If they can win a game or two in the playoffs somehow, some way, I think that can kind of keep the program together a little bit more. So it's a calculated risk that they said, no, that's not an interim. This is our guy. Rally around him. But dude, it's hard to imagine that they're going to be able to win even a single playoff game with all the angst and consternation and people thinking about the portal. There's got to be a lot going on in that building this week.
Well, one thing's for sure. They know they're going to the playoff. Other teams in the SEC, not so sure right now. And it's on the horizon. It's not here yet. And it's fun for all of us college fanatics to look at this and what could happen. But have you looked at these doomsday scenarios for the playoff right now? I mean,
some weird ones out there.
Oh, just one. If Alabama wins the SEC championship, and I know it would be an upset if BYU did, you're talking about Vanderbilt, Texas, Notre Dame, and Miami all being shut out. They wouldn't have a spot. None of those four teams would have a spot. I was looking down, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Now, that would have to happen. And then you've got the Notre Dame Miami head-to-head comparison going on. And then if Duke were to beat or upset Virginia, which is not that far of a stretch, what that would do. I mean, there are some interesting things. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing when it comes to the football playoff at this point in time.
Yeah, I get it. I think it's better to have a 12-team playoff than when it was just 4.
So do I.
Because there's more really good teams.
Especially this year.
Yeah, in some years you do have a clear top 4. This year I don't think you do. I think number 3 could be just as good as number 8. And it's going to make sense to let them play that out on the field. But when you say a group of 5 team has to make it, and then you have a situation, and I mentioned this earlier, when you've got these big conferences, 16, 18 teams, you'll have teams that didn't face the cream of the crop in terms of competition in their league. And so when everybody finishes with the same record, and a lot of y'all didn't play one another, you've got to come down to these, bizarre, obscure ways to break a tie to end up having a Duke at 7-5 make the playoff. I do think a league like the ACC would be better served to say, hey, you got to win 9. If there's teams that have won 9 regular season games, that ranks ahead of a 7-5. Like, we have to come up with a way to benefit our conference rather than come through with all these obscure ways to get ourselves completely left out of the playoff potentially when we're a second-rate league anyway, masquerading as a Power 4. That's what the ACC is at this point. But you're right. Like, if Duke somehow beats Virginia, which seems plausible enough, you're going to end up with the ACC getting shut out. I know people are talking about Notre Dame and Miami beat Notre Dame. If you're Miami, you cannot lose to 2 unranked teams that ended the season with 4 losses. You can't. It's just the nature of the beast right now.
Well, Georgia and Alabama, they are not going to be penalized for either one of them losing the SEC championship. They won't be. I
believe you're right, but the Bama thing could get interesting if they get popped, Vic. If they get beaten,
they won't by Georgia. No way. But I understand where you're going. There's no way.
They're on that cut line, and you have every team below that cut line, stumping for their program. I know it's just social media,
but you look at that
going, we beat the crap out of Tennessee. What more do you want us to do? We're 10-2 in the SEC. You've got Texas going, we scheduled Ohio State, didn't have to do that, and we'd be 10-2 if we had scheduled Eastern Illinois instead. We'd be just like all these other teams when we'd have the Longhorn on our helmet. Why wouldn't we be in the play? Like, they're not going to all win that argument. Very few of them will.
But you've got Ohio State, you've got Oregon and Indiana. Those 3 are in there. Georgia's in. Ole Miss, you're 5. Oklahoma and A&M, 6, 7. Then you get your Big 12 champ, which would be 8. Your American champ, 9. and then Virginia or Duke. I mean, Virginia or the Sun Belt champ. I mean, literally, who gets the final 2 spots? Bama for sure is in. I'm telling you, they are. Then you've got Notre Dame, Miami, Texas, and Vandy all for that final spot.
Well, in BYU, if they should beat Texas Tech, that's what would really screw.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
BYU would be auto-admitted. If BYU loses to Tech, I know they're currently ranked 11. They're right around that line. BYU's just SOL because they would have lost to Texas Tech once, and they'd have lost to them again. That's really the only good team they've played other than Utah, and they're just at that point, it does become simple that all these other teams that we're arguing for, I think, would jump BYU. It's a rare example where losing your conference championship game can hinder you because in the ACC and in the Big 12, they just are not the same as the other 2 leagues. And so that would be, unfortunately, even though they only have 1 regular season loss, that would be the nature of the beast. But you've got Miami, Notre Dame, Vanderbilt, and Texas, all, in my opinion, at least in their opinion, thinking they have a claim. You could make a case for one of those teams potentially above Oklahoma if you really
you
wanted
could.
To.
Gosh,
where they're ranked, it's not going to change. So that's what's going to be really interesting about all of this. Is I don't really think you're going to get the chaotic shakeup to the rankings at the last moment because nothing that happened last weekend was groundbreaking. Like Miami fans want to sit there and say, "Yeah, but we beat Stanford by more than Notre Dame
I know.
did, and we beat Pitt by." It just doesn't matter.
That's what you're left doing.
The losses they took. In the context, these people are terrible with context. They can't figure out that their losses are bad.
Yeah,
Notre Dame
it's called being a fan.
And
I get it.
It is. And I feel bad for them because I do think that they are pretty much similar in caliber. Like they beat Notre Dame. Totally get that. But all the results on the field have to matter, not just the head-to-head ones. And unfortunately, you play an ACC schedule and didn't really come up with the marquee wins aside from Notre Dame, and you took 2 losses that you couldn't afford. And that's the nature of the beast with the way these conferences are lined up.
Well, we got a few minutes left talking with Brendan Schaefer. We're going to be talking a lot more basketball starting in the next few weeks. And
it's the week right here.
And this is the week as Missouri kicks off real boy basketball. Notre Dame tomorrow night, Kansas Sunday, 8-0. What were they again in regards to strength of schedule? I think second to last in America, right?
Yeah, I saw this from Power Mizzou today. 364 out of 365. To the net rankings that just came out. We're 51st in the net, and we're bogged down by that strength of schedule. It'll go up with Notre Dame, Kansas, and Illinois over the next 3 weeks. But that's Dennis. We didn't need to do this, man.
No, we didn't.
It's okay to take a non-con loss before December 1st. Play those games.
Illinois does. Other SEC teams do.
Why can't we play in these big multi-team tournament events where you're getting paid out in NIL?
Yeah,
it's just going to benefit
I agree.
the program. What are we afraid of? I don't understand it.
Well, it's something that he's going to have to prove. I mean, now if they go out and they take care of business tomorrow night on the road against Notre Dame and they show up at Kansas next Sunday, we forget about the schedule at the beginning of the year, don't we?
Yes. Yeah, and I think the net rankings will too, right? Like, you need to have that proof of concept.
So he's perfect. Well said.
It's going to be in the pudding the next 2 games. I mean, when you play Notre Dame and you play Kansas, those are the ones that are going to start to kind of shape this together. And boy, if you can win them both, now we're feeling really good about it.
See, I know more about SLU than I do Mizzou now after their game against Santa Clara and then a tight game with Stanford, one that they really looked good for most of the game and kind of pissed it away at the very end. I know more about SLU than I do Mizzou, and I like what I see.
Yeah, and Missouri has played Minnesota is the only team, and they are not good. They're not a good Big Ten team. So it'll be a test. You started the show by talking about optimism about the Mizzou football game the way it went. I don't have it. But you look at like a sports book odds, they have Mizzou as an overwhelming favorite to make the NCAA tournament right now. I am not yet sold. There's potential here for sure. I am not yet sold. But I think a game like tomorrow night, we're going to get to find out more about this team. And then obviously the border war. I would, as much as I hate to lose to Kansas, I would say that as long as you win one of the next 2, I'm not pressing the panic button on the season. I'm pressing the panic button about the rivalry if you lose the border war.
Of course.
But I'm not pressing the panic button on, we're not but if you lose them both, then I'm like, I'm still waiting for that game that tells me we're going to contend in the Southeastern Conference because the league won't be as good as it was last year, but it's still going to be a really good league. And Missouri's got to show that it can come together cohesively as a unit and play good enough to get through that slog at least a 500 record in league play to be able to get the benefit of the doubt that you would that comes with playing in the SEC. You go 500 in league play, you're going to make the tournament.
Yeah, you will.
but it's like, what have we seen so far that tells us that's the team they're going to be this year? I did see the SEMO game where they almost lost to them, and that's still kind of in my mind of this is possible for this team unless they kind of continue on a better trajectory. So
they got to have a go-to guy, Brendan. They've got to have a guy that takes over, like we saw last year. They had two guys that would take over when they needed to, both at the guard position.
Yeah, Robinson is volatile. I mean, he'll have his great games, but he gets sped up. So they're going to rely on him for better or worse, and we're going to see how consistent he can play.
I just got to see somebody like Bates. I loved watching Bates play last year, and I don't know if we have anything close to that right now.
I thought Jaden Stone was developing into that, but then he got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
So now
he was a surprise. You're right. He was an early season surprise.
Looking like a 6th man of the year candidate, and we're going to miss him for a little while.
I would go out on a limb and say I like Missouri tomorrow night. I can't go on out in the limb day. I just like it's a TBD. Lots to talk about as we start getting into the hoop season. Lots to get excited about as we wait for Missouri's bowl announcement. By the way, do you have any idea when that could come?
I assume it would come after Championship Saturday. I believe Sunday they'll announce
next Sunday
playoff on Sunday, I think. And then the bowl announcements usually come in as even before maybe the playoff. Like we could know if somebody leaks it by Saturday, probably of what that, because we know we're not in the playoff, but they have to let the championship weekend play out, because what if, an Alabama loses and then they find out they're not in the playoff, which you and I don't believe would happen. We don't think they'll get penalized that way. But if it happened, that would bump Alabama into one of the SEC committed bowls, which then slides everybody else down a rung. And so they have to wait for the playoff to piece together, I believe. But their bowls are already going to be having conversations about teams like Missouri, because the way it works with the SEC is it's a pool of like 6 bowls that the conference and the TV partners and everybody can kind of pick and choose where they land. And so it is plausible that we've got an idea about Missouri beforehand. There will be people who put together the puzzle throughout the week and say, it's going to be one of these 2 or 3. And so we might get some more information as the week goes.
Brendan, awesome as always. Good to catch up with you, my friend. Have a great Monday.
You too, brother. M-I-Z.
Yeah, Z-O-U. This is the M-I-Z STL show. Brendan Schaefer and Vic Faust. Grant Salzman away today. He'll be back on is he back on? I don't know if he's going to be back on Wednesday or not.
He damn well better be. He didn't tell me anything about missing, so we'll see.
Grant's out for the week, I think.
Well,
you may be, if you need help, let me know. We'll talk later, Brendan.
I'll be, we'll see. Maybe. We'll see. Well, back to you with the programming. Tune in on Wednesday at 10 o'clock and you'll see who you see, I guess.
All right. That does it for us. Coming up next is Charlie Tune in the Posse. Have a great Monday. We'll catch up with you guys later.